Okay. Take a seat, please, Lauren. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we done. We done. Okay, cool. Okay. All right. Okay. One more. Okay. All right. I think we must just kick off, eh? I don't know. Here, Dean, there's a seat here for you. Okay, okay. Kick off? Everybody in? Okay, everybody. Hi. How's it? Yes, thanks, Bernice. Cool. You all just find some seats, please. Can everybody hear me? There we go. Is it?
Everybody, can
Hi,
you please
can
take
you
your
hear me?
seats so we can begin?
Oh, it's so funny. Cool. So, welcome everybody. Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're also welcoming our Cape Town guys via live stream. Shelley's going to be looking after any questions that any of the guys from Cape Town might have. So my name is Cara Nima. I'm currently looking after the people development work stream at Freethinking. And today is actually the first of our knowledge share days. We're going to be kicking off with Consultancy 101. And the aim is as we have more of these get-togethers, we're going to be exploring and unpacking and sharing knowledge and learning more about the relevant topics. Okay, this is all forming part of our people development work stream that we are currently working on. It's still in stages where we're planning, and we've got some initiatives that we've been researching. And I'm trying to make my way out to the different clients to share these plans. But if anybody is keen to know a bit more, or wants to get involved or has some feedback, then please do get in touch with me, and I'll gladly come and have a chat and let you know about it. Okay, we're just going to run through the order of today. Oops, sorry, wrong way. Okay, so we're going to kick off with a quick update from Mark, and then straight from there we're going to jump into Consultancy 101. We have 2 hours dedicated to this, but there will be a break in between that, so that you guys can go to the loo or stretch your legs, whatever need be. We're then going to have Julie that's going to share the Lumina launch and the rollout plan for that, so I'm sure you're all quite excited to hear about it. And then Dean is going to share some, an idea that he has around a research opportunity that he wants to explore, and where hopefully everybody can get involved in that. And then Charles is going to run through the recognition campaign and talk through some of the August nominations that we have. And then hopefully, if all goes well, we'll end the day, or Mark will end the day, do a closing at by 5 o'clock. Okay, thanks. All right, I'm just going to hand over to Kelly to do a couple of house rules. Can we start?
Hello, everybody. You probably already know me. I sit at head office. I'm what you call a jack of all trades on the operational side of things. I'm just going to run through a few things with you for the day, starting off with the house rules. Please, guys, no laptops. We really need your attention to be here for the day. So there's that. And on that same note, participation is key, so please don't be shy. You will notice that on your chair, sorry, you've received a notepad. Please use that throughout the day to make notes. Throughout the day, all the content, the links, and presentations will be shared with you, so just keep a lookout for that. And please remember, when you do leave, there is a Consultancy 101 handout that is there for you, so please make sure that you do take one. And then just some safety in general. The emergency exit door is located just outside the auditorium to your right. The toilets, as you come in the main entrance, if you go to as you come through the left-hand side, you will find the toilets there. And then, most importantly, the bar is located just outside of the auditorium as you go out. I do have prepaid parking tickets with me, so please make sure that throughout the day when you see me, come and grab one from me. Then with regards to Slido, we will be, throughout the day, we want you to actually post your questions via Slido. So if you haven't got the application already, please download the app. If you are unsure about how it works, you have been given a handout that's on your chair as well, so you can refer to that. The Wi-Fi information is also on there. And then finally, please follow and share on all of our social media channels as per the slide. And then welcome up Mark.
Thanks, Kelly. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Convergence 2. So we survived the first one. We're here. Well done for escaping your client commitments today. It really is like that. We had a few moaning customers, but that's good. Probably means you're doing your jobs and they want you around. Bit of a positive there. Momentum people, put your hands up, please. Sure. I mean, that whole team south of the Boerewors curtain at this time of the day, it was quite a feat. There was a dry run needed for that more so than this. So well done. Percy must be in tears. He's become so, was he? Yeah, not surprised. But really thanks. I know you're all super busy at the moment, so thanks for the time. Just a quick second. Am I too loud? Okay, cool. Just to reflect on Convergence 1, 8 weeks ago, we took you through high level what's going on with the business, the practices, how they complement each other, some of the practice leads, profiling, what's going on, how it all ties together. I appreciate that it was very one-directional, so we were downloading loads of information. It was on purpose like that because we had a lot of work to share with you. Going forward, we're super keen on obviously more engagements, which we'll test out today. No pressure, Warwick, getting engagement. The feedback we got was brilliant. We got some great feedback. We also got some learnings. So part of those learnings, some of it will improve immediately. Some of it will take some time. I'll pick two examples. The first one was time management wasn't great last time. So the last few presentations under pressure, had to cut a few things short. We didn't get to do Lauren's famous pig story, which I still don't know what it is, but apparently it's coming one of these days, so hold out for the pig. So what we did was, how did we fix that quickly? Well, Andrew was head of kind of emceeing and time on Convergence 1, so we fired him. Done. Now he's a photographer. We'll see if he gets that right. Then the other example, a bit tougher to fix, got some feedback about presentation skills. Public speaking. It's quite funny. We really practiced our authentic, genuine way of dealing with each other. I think within 10 minutes of Convergence 1 ending, I had about 3 of you that had taken me aside saying, Mark, what the fuck was that? Like, you were too nervous, you read your speech. It's like, seriously. So it was like, okay, some reality set in. So hopefully I can improve. I'm going to try today. Less reading, less nerves. It's quite funny. Some of the tips I've been getting, things like, Mark, no one died. So I'm going to try that all day. I'm going to keep saying no one died. And things like breathe and talk slower. All these these basic tips, which and I hope to improve. You must keep me honest, though, as you do, clearly. If I get worse, though, I just feel sorry for you guys. I don't know what you're going to do. Vote me out or something. I don't know. Yeah. Cool. So just moving forward, illumination. That was our theme for the month. What a success it was. 3 broad areas. One, knowledge sharing, consulting 101. We're going to play it out today. There's lots of prep that's gone into this. Illumination for the self. So we know the Lumina program's coming. We're booking our times. Jules will be running with that. Super excited. You guys are going to love that for those of you that accepted it. I'm yet to meet someone that didn't find great value in that particular project. You learn a lot about yourself. Self-awareness, massive firstly, and then how to deal with different kinds of personalities. It's really a great program, so it's something to look forward to. And then illuminating others, so illuminating your peers. It's awesome. I appreciate it. And some nominations came from clients directly, and that's just more proof that we're doing some amazing stuff out there. So thank you. So quickly, just to recap on knowledge sharing. So kind of why are we here? So our big opportunity, I still believe, our number one pivot, the importance is for us to upskill ourselves to be more T-shaped in terms of consulting. So yes, we've all got our specific deep skill that through our career we've represented that thing and taken it into a client space. But the real value or opportunity for us all sits in listening to the customer and appreciating the things, or learning at a high level, basic level, the things that you don't know, because they're all very complementary. Listening to our customers, taking back the thoughts to the office, free thinking, tapping into where people are strong in those areas, and re-engaging and responding to a client and say, remember that lunch we had the other day? I've been thinking, how about the following? Whether it's formal or informal, it's a big opportunity for each of us to tap into the broad aspects of all the different things that you don't know. Again, it's not a point of becoming a specialist in it if you don't want to, but just recognizing those complementing aspects. So obviously in doing that, it's easier said than done. So we talk about these things, but we recognize free thinking need to invest in those areas. So knowledge and behavior, and that's what triggers these things. So multiple themes have come up. Consulting 101 was the most popular, so that's why it's just about a rollout. I feel like I've been saying Consulting 101's coming for about a year, but it really is 5 minutes. But future conversion sessions, EQ training. Hello, Vivu. Things like financial services. We know we haven't done this perfect up to now, so some of you that have been, hello everyone. Oh, Claudio, seriously. Financial services, future tech, blockchain, all these different areas that you may not know anything about or have a little bit of knowledge in. These are all topics that are going to come through in each convergence session as we work through. Obviously, it's important that we find a way to get that content shared properly and then repeat it into new free thinkers that join the business, and evolve those stories, evolve the knowledge sharing platforms. But this is where we're starting. So convergence is one. But we've also, we look forward to some informal knowledge sharing. So Dean will be chatting to us a little bit later. But we informally called it Sausage Saturday as a start. Thinking about, what would this look like? Whiteboard, put a braai on, we'll make it all informal and pick a topics. Let's talk about voice, let's talk automation, and you can participate from a point of knowing absolutely nothing and listening or contributing. And let's debate these things. Let's come out with a perspective that free thinking holds as a group, maybe a white paper that we'd like to share or not share, internal or external. I think there needs to be more of these informal debates on brainstorming. I do want to pause and share a bit of a story, though. So while this Sausage Saturday concept is flying around, one of our group chats, one of the weekends, hello. Welcome. Um, Warwick had one too many glasses of wine a few weekends ago. And on the group chat, he started saying, so I've been thinking about Sausage Saturday. He says, we could create variations. He came up with some interesting things. Boerewors brainstorm, chipolata chat, Vienna vent, and Russian report. So, we know we're winning when we've got our head of risk and compliance and architecture guy getting this creative on weekends. So. Cool. I'd like to just mention a new topic that I haven't chatted about yet. That where's a business wanting to start actively promoting a culture of learning internally. There'll be more information shared about this a bit later. A few examples: we've engaged with LinkedIn on their learning platform, and we're going to be trialing that. Career development conversations that are happening on the floor. So Corin's existence, the work that she's doing, existence, that's a bad word. She definitely exists. Hopefully she does more than just exist in your space. Line management, account management, those people are around you. Constructive conversations about what is next in your career, what you want to upskill yourself with. Deliberate. So if it's not happening, reach out to these people. And then considering future masterclasses. So for example, if Consulting 101, blows your socks off today, and you want to, deep dive, this thing is just reawoken. What do we do about that? How do we provide a platform to learn deeper skills in certain topics? We don't have the answers on that yet, but we're experimenting. Do we look external partnerships? Is it an internal capability? It's early stages of thinking. And just lastly, in terms of update, a brilliant performance. The financial year is just finished, and it was an excellent year. So I just want to thank you all individually for your efforts. I've been going through kind of summary reports on some of the 360s that your clients have provided back, and it's staggering. The level is high. It's super positive. So thank you all for the contribution you've made. We're in a good space. The demand in our existing spaces is high on people. Did I do that? Oh. Shit. Exactly. So the opportunities are healthy. The demand is high on existing and new clients. We're in a great space, and I'm excited for the next year to take it through with all of you guys. I just want to share a quick story as well. I got a WhatsApp message from one of you this morning saying, I've just heard quote of the day. Someone was overheard at one of our clients quoting, why would anyone be so stupid to leave thinking right now? And I was like, sure, that's pretty awesome. So we want to test that. Where's Tandy? Tans is leaving us, unfortunately. She's going to Ireland, though. So this is where this conflict comes in. My parents were born in Ireland, and she's going to drink fresh Guinness and live in Dublin and change of life. So you probably just escaped the kind of label of being stupid for leaving Freethinking. So, but we'll miss you. Lots of drinks. Yeah. Lots of drinks later with Tans, by the way. Cool, and that's it. So moving on. It's finally here. Okay, why clients need consultants? It's blank. I'm not sure. They don't need consultants. Oh shit! No, I'm joking. It was a joke. It's blank. Joke's not working. Okay. Cool. So I've just touched on some high-level things. Sorry, before I even start on that, it's gone again. don't need consultants. Okay, so in principle, these sessions, and it's starting right now, and like I said, every conversions we're going to go through these things. It's not a case of throwing a whole bunch of jargon and text at you and detail and methodologies. We really want these sessions to be interactive and for them to have meaning in the free thinking context. So I just wanted to set it up for you in terms of principle. So independence. So just touching on some basics, why our clients need consultants or want to work with consultants. This is generically, it's not necessarily free thinking in this context. So the meaning. So the meaning in this context is freedom from the control and influence of others. And isn't that a beautiful thing? It's actually the reason why personally it's resonated with me. I seriously do not enjoy the politicking and bureaucracy that goes on within our client spaces. And, to embrace your position as a consultant independently is awesome. There's no need to have kind of ulterior motives. And that often leads to the best transparent outcomes in the work that you do. So value that. I think some people, grass is always greener, and you think, being a senior manager at client X, that's like the real deal. It's not greener. Don't take my word for it. Go do some research. Clients' job restructuring, for example. Consultants are needed for sensitive projects. For example, I've worked in a client space where they've needed to outsource their finance function overseas, and it involved impact on heads. So these type of work, it needs to be done by externals, can't be done internally for sensitive reasons, obviously. I find sometimes there's threats to independence, though. So sponsor self-interest. You build a relationship with someone, and it's like on the terms that this kind of outcome happens. And these are the tricky parts of consulting, because relationships are key. And how do you retain that professionalism and independence around what you are putting forward in terms of advice and best way forward if you're representing their customers without it being influenced, really? It's not easy. Familiarity, very topical for us. So you solve for a certain flow at a bank in South Africa, and you want to consulting, get somewhere else, move to work at another client, and the same kind of problem comes up, and the natural reaction is, I've solved this thing before, this is how you do it, and that's kind of not the best approach. So the independence requires that you start again and you rethink these things in a new context. So those are just some threats to keep in mind on independence. Collective experience and specialist skill, it's quite an obvious one. So clients need to focus on what they do best, their core business. Trying to do everything right often leads to everything being done pretty average, so they know that the specialists are required to come in and do the things that they aren't necessarily keen to build internally. It's a different mindset, problem solving, partnering. Flexibility. So our clients that want to, sometimes they're precious about the IP, they want to build their teams internally. It comes at a risk, so operational expenditure, the employee well-being, motivation, the management. It's all the cuck that you give us, kind of they try and step aside for, and use us as consultants. When times change and those businesses need to, downsize or consider retrenchments, are you okay, Warwick? It's not your turn, Nick. So it can be impact on reputation, obviously investor confidence, publicly listed share pricing. So those risks are real for clients that choose to grow internally in certain areas that may not be sustainable. Yeah, sorry, and another point that it's easy to exit an engagement, obviously through a consultancy, rather than going through CCMA, all sorts of drama in terms of releasing individuals. So delivery. So clients typically are looking to ring fence work when they think of consultants, with a specific mandate on coming in to do a piece of work and to leave. The irony for us is that That's not our typical model on what we push at. We are trying to break through into the earlier stages. Are you sure that's what you need? And the beauty in getting in early with challenging a client and reimagining what they actually need is that you built that partnership organically, and you kind of both committed then to carry that through. It's not a case of being specific on ring fencing up front. Reputational confidence and track record. So it talks for itself. They reach out to consultant firms that have a name for doing things in the past and track record. So that's their reason. And obviously with that comes certain guarantees and recourse. Another reason why they would reach out for consultancy generically. And knowledge transfer. So they know that with specialists working in their areas, there's upskilling. Some of our competitors would look to protect that. We're quite open about it. So, you know, we're quite deliberate in terms of promoting the knowledge sharing that happens while we're working with our clients. And it's something that they deliberately look for. I was late, sorry. Okay, so that's just a few pointers. Am I taking too long? We're okay, time? Cool. Okay, so just to touch on a few things here. So why free thinking, and in addition to all the previous reasons, playing in the grey. So we disrupt. It's important. We don't come with predefined solutions. We consider our clients' environments, and we use methodologies and approaches that are in the market available to all of us. We're not IP precious. We're good to work in uncertain starts, so sprint zero. Client's not sure, they think they have a problem. You know, we sometimes engage in saying, okay, well, let us partner with you in doing a bit of research and customer journeys and understanding what's coming next. Sometimes we come out the other side, yes, everything's, trust has been built, engagement is in, but we've got the wrong team then in terms of the execution that's required because the whole mandate has changed. And, you know, we pride ourselves in that we're flexible. We're good to say, cool, how do we change this quickly, bring in a different type of person? It's not around getting all the I's dotted and the T's crossed in advance of these engagements. To play devil's advocate, super important. So our customers' clients are important to us, and challenging our customers on what they think their clients need, it's very, very important at this point. I think it was Dean that says, I mean, try to put his finger on what is it that differentiates us, and it's that word challenger. And obviously it comes with an assumption that you've got the ability to consult with tactfulness and those skills that are required to be able to position these things properly and not to insult the client and all those type of things. But, you know, we really do want you to know that you've got our back in you know, talking your mind in where you think clients are making mistakes. We don't want yabroos. You know, we're not a resource model. Consultants that apply your mind, listen to your gut, and challenge the norms. So why do we bother risking the grey? I've mentioned it earlier, it shows commitment. So if you co-create something from the start, it leads to trust, relationship building. It just makes loads of sense. And earlier the better. I've had examples where I've gone into spaces and a free thinker said to me, Mark, this place sucks. Like the vendors around here, the client doesn't know what's going on. I don't think it's a space we want to be working in. And for me, I feel the complete opposite. The more broken the client is, the earlier we are involved in their process or any solution that they want, the better for us. Reputation. So our reputation is that we get shit done. Yes, it's implementation orientated, but we can be proud of it. It's our track record. We get calls for it all the time. That is our reputation, and we're proud of it. I just said that. I said it twice. We're proud of our we're proud of our people, our culture, and the consistent behavior, you know, that we take to our clients. I want to just quote something. It's one of Steve Jobs' quote. Why would anyone be so stupid? Oh, sorry, that's the wrong quote. No, his quote's coming. Wrong page. Reputation come from, obviously, identifying ourselves with the wrong type of people. We don't get it right all the time, but for most of the time we do. And the risk in abusing flexibility. So please remind yourselves always that we've got an opportunity in spaces where clients are not exactly doing their best work, that we are to be the example and not to fit in and to work according to their ways of working. Yeah, and to elaborate on our people. See, the previous one was about people too. So his quote is, finally, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people to tell us what to do. And that resonates with me. Freethinking is a platform. So for you to bring the work that you're capable of doing and perform it through us as a platform. Selecting the right personality first on people before skills has been a no-brainer for us and worked for us well in the past. I've had a comment from a client very recently that's literally been asking me, where do you clone your people? They are battling and cannot believe how every time consistently we introduce people that they are impressed with. So we're doing a lot right. Culture considered partnerships. So practice what we preach, and we support our people. So account management, onboarding. There's loads of things that we're quite proud of in terms of supporting you guys, and I hope you feel supported. The suitability for our teams to work at clients in their specific culture. And we appreciate the client's technology and business limitations, and we seek custom solutions together in these spaces. Okay. And sustainability, I mentioned it earlier. For us to specifically commit to invest in the client's IP and not give them the feeling that we're there to, set up long-term camp. Sometimes it ends up that way because when we work well, scope grows, more challenges to go on, but that's not our prerogative. The initial intent is to invest and to help them become a better space, more mature space, better place, better people. And we make Okay, cool. So one more thing. So we set out to make our clients look amazing to their organization. I've mentioned this before. It's a strong message that we don't need to be precious around our product. It's about making our clients look amazing to their organizations. Cool. And that's it. So moving on. Cool. So Warwick and Michele, we can step into the next part of Cool. So what I want to do quickly is just to set the scene. So it's been a year ago that we, a year and a bit, year and 4 months? Year and a bit. We pitched Transformation Digital platform and new way of working to Momentum. They're the third largest life insurer in the country. It was an exciting time, and I just want to set the scene really. Vess and Derek at the time were involved. The mandate wasn't very clear, and we called on Marley and Jacques to actually help us to create a pitch really. It feels like just the other day. There was an unclear mandate. Percy Erasmus was our main stakeholder and still is. He had a very unique operating model that we didn't necessarily agree with, but we still chose, let's have a crack in the space and learn with him as we go. And yeah, he intended it on being a very short engagement at the beginning. And that quickly grew into being, it's still going on a year later. So yeah, Michele, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Listen, if I give you any advice, breathe. No one's going to die. And talk slowly.
Somebody actually might die depending on how engaged you guys are, because the backup is a challenger case study. We're giving people good luck. So let's not get there. All right, thanks, Mike. Can everyone hear me? I'm just enjoying walking backwards and forwards here because I finally have to duck under something. So forgive me if I keep on doing that. But before we actually get into the details here, and I actually am genuinely at risk of finally hitting my head, but I'll step to the side here. So, before we get into the actual interactive part, I just want to take you through a couple of slides on some of the theory. This is very much an approach that can actually apply at multiple levels in an organization. It's not necessarily about when you start an engagement or anything else. And it's not intended to be inclusive. So you guys must please use the parts that make sense, change it as you go. But just to give you a little bit of an idea of how this works. So the starting point is entry, surprisingly enough. And that's messy. So if I think of, this is often the kind of stuff that happens behind the scenes that a lot of the people sitting in this room won't necessarily see. But this is where you start looking at an organization like RMB and try and find out who you know in that organization. Go and have coffee with them, find out some of their broad challenges, start working out who the decision makers are. Then you find out who you know that's related to those decision makers, and you start running around on LinkedIn trying to find guys, and you find that they probably know Dean. And that's generally the case. It all comes back to Dean, even at Sasol. And then you get Dean to go and have coffee with them, and if they survive the coffee chat, then you start working out who the next one is that you need to influence. So basically you get yourself to the point where you're talking to the decision makers, you're talking to the people who know what the problems are. And that's when you get to discovery. As soon as you move into discovery, you're starting to work out what the problems are in the organization, what the real problems are in the organization, and there are a bunch of tools that we can talk through as to how you do that. And once you've identified a problem to actually solve, then you start pitching the case to the client. And this is where it gets particularly interesting, because you've got to start talking about things like ROI and all of those types of components to actually get them to buy and to start working out how you're going to show the value that you add. Once you get that right, you then get into the engagements and implementation. This is the stuff that a lot of you guys are involved in all of the time, which is really now saying, all right, now we've got the scope, we know the problem, let's get in there, solve it, and keep reviewing, keep reporting. So very much an iterative type approach. And as we're seeing now with some of our engagements, knowing when the hell to stop. So that's generally what we do badly. We don't know when to stop, because the clients, as Mike was mentioning, they just want more and more from us. So I think when you're actually getting into that consulting approach, knowing your termination point, knowing what your sign is that it's now time to leave, and then actually leaving. I think that's one of the critical parts that we'll get to within the context here. And then, of course, you want to be following up and getting more work. There are lots of hot people at the back there. Is this still hangover from Mike? Because I know it's not because of me. Okay. So I just want to talk to you a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. It's not about Andrew this time, and So the different roles in consulting. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I just want you guys to think through the basic 3 points on here. That there's a responsibility for delivery, for the actual results that get delivered. There's a responsibility for growing the people in an organization, and there's the people who take the decisions. So it's a bit difficult to do 3 dimensions on slides, but the third dimension is really the graph on the right-hand side there. Depending on who's responsible for those components really changes the type of role that you have in a consulting organization. All of these blocks that are up there are entirely valid. They are proper consulting roles. It's not a case of the hands-on expert, which a lot of us play at this stage. It's still valid in the consulting framework. But this is often where a lot of the confusion comes in and a lot of the conflict comes in clients. I'll take a current example where we're at APSA on a particular piece of work from a strategic perspective, which I would consider to be very much in the sort of technical expert type role. And as we've gone into it, the guys are really looking for more of a pair of hands. So, it causes a lot of conflict in that engagement, because you're sitting there trying to actually determine a strategy, work it out, sell it, educate, and your person on the client side is actually sitting there saying, well, actually, I just want you to put the following into PowerPoint presentations for me, make it look pretty so that I can go and put my view across, which is one of the reasons why people do sometimes use consultants, is just to articulate their view. So you get into those sort of situations, and it's important to be able to recognize what role you're trying to play and what role the client is actually expecting, so that you can contract properly around it and change the contract if necessary. And once again, when it comes to that termination question, knowing to say, actually, this isn't what we signed up for, we're now changing tack. We need to do something different, and we're open to those kinds of conversations. So you can see as you move, I won't go through each of them, but the ultimate for us is really that partnership and the collaboration piece up top there, where it's shared responsibilities for results. You're growing the people at the client, and you're both responsible for the decision making. So there's an element of mandate in the decision making at all levels. But in reality, we're hungry, we'll take any work. So you've got down in the bottom corner over here, you've got your hands-on expert, you're a reflective observer, you're in a position where you're watching what they do, you're playing it back to them. Your counselor is more the role where you're actually saying, all right, I'm actually going to be your sounding board on this, I'll take you through it, and we need to be able to move anywhere in this matrix as part of a consultant, and the tools we're going to show will help you do that. Then there's the fourth dimension that people don't like. So you get a lot of this in clients. You think you know what you're doing, you think you know what your mandate is, and people behave completely and utterly irrationally. And there's going to be a lot of that coming out in the discussion today, as to trying to work out why your stakeholders, why the people at the client side are actually not being rational, and why what you do seems to sometimes be going nowhere. So the guys you're dealing with are human. They have problems like loss aversion. The number of projects that I've personally been involved in where we've invested way beyond where we should because of the sunk cost. And you start having a conversation with the client and saying, actually, it's time to cut your losses and move on, and they can't. It's that kind of thing. There's groupthink. There's, the overconfidence in, another issue that we're dealing with at the moment, where people believe that they know what's required in the strategic side. All of those sit in people's head and change their decision making. Welcome. Would you like to tell a joke, sing a song? But seriously, thanks for joining us. Yeah. So they have their own bosses. They have conflicting objectives. They have the same sort of pressures that you experience down on them. They have limited span of control and influence. So one of the critical things in an organization is to work out what the people you're working with can actually do and what they can change. So people often think they've got more power than they do. And part of our role is to help them navigate that environment and find out who does have the power, who can make the decisions, who can drive things. But these are the kind of things that restrict them. So they might well say, look, I'll get that done for you. The reality is they actually can't, and you need to find out who can. Often they don't know what they don't know. Often they don't want to hear that. They're political beasts. Anyone who's been in a bank for longer than 10, 15 years is dead or a political beast. It's the reality that banks are political, and they have their own personality preferences. So I think the types of things that we're doing with Lumina, beginning to understand that about your client, how to communicate to them, that's critical. Lauren, you had something to say there? Whatever. but you're not in the bank. So this is a little bit about stakeholders and stakeholder level as well as skills. So in this discussion, plus probably more of these types of discussions, you're looking at the core level, where it really comes down to, what are the skills that you have, what are the techniques that you have to facilitate, to find problems, to manage conflict, all of that sort of thing. It's a base consulting skill that everybody needs. Your specialization, so design, analysis, anything similar to that, those types of skills we're not going to cover here, but that's really around the different groupings that we have. I've forgotten the proper name for them. What do we call them? What's your design practice thing called? No, but your meetup? Your design practice meetups, shit like that. Your community, there we go. So your communities handle that. Thank you. and then we get back into, so we'll handle industry in some of these later conversations. So Mike mentioned, a little bit around the financial services industry. So, you know, the role of the Reserve Bank and exciting stuff like that and what that does to how money flows. And I can really, I'm selling this one well. But that's important at a particular set of stakeholders in an organization, at a particular group. It's not necessarily important on a day-by-day basis. So once you start getting to your decision makers who are trying to work out, you know, what they need to do in the context of banking or insurance, or, you know, where the kind of human behavior moving away from ownership, how that's going to impact where they're going, that's where you need to start understanding that stuff. And then obviously if you're speaking to the C-suite or anything similar, you need global knowledge. So this is the global trends, you know, what's happening with payments regulation in the EU, all of that kind of thing, you need to be able to bring into that conversation, because that's the level of decisioning that they take, that are actually making. So there's a lot of different tools, and you can see some examples of them on the right, and there's a handout with places where you can go read about these things that help you contextualize these things. And a lot of that stuff near the top of the chain there is reading. It's finding out, you know, who to follow, things like the financial services brand, you know, guys like Brett King, all of those people, what are these trends, what's going on, and getting to understand it. So a lot of that is not necessarily taught. Today we're going to be focusing a lot on the core, probably not moving much into industry. And then we're moving into the case study. So the plan for today, just I've got a backup if this doesn't work. But the main plan, another important lesson for consulting, by the way. So we're going to use momentum because it's a case study where there's a lot of shit that's happened in a very small period of time that allows us to pull back to you know, all of the different themes that we're going through around stakeholders and various other types of components. Michele is going to do most of the talking. I'm going to sit down. And then I'm going to be asking you guys in the audience to contribute. So when it comes down to ways that could have been approached to solve things, similar examples from your own experience, you know, I want you to be thinking through that, thinking along the three dimensions that we've been speaking about, to contextualize and to actually contribute to this. If you don't, there are 4 pens over here that I'll be throwing at people to get them to contribute. If I run out of pens, I've got a knife. So, you know, please, let's be involved and try and make this as interactive as possible. I think there's a lot of learning to be got from the people in the room. This isn't about, you know, me standing up top and actually just talking through the different components. Because I would get bored, and those seats are hard, so your asses will get sore. So yeah, over to Michele to give us context.
Hi guys. So yeah, I was asked to just start with one intro, and then we're going to go into like a free fall. So basically, my experience at Momentum in retrospective has been interesting, challenging, rewarding at times, but if I could put it in a statement, it's basically a shitstorm with a drizzle of awesome here and there. Yeah, it was crazy. Sometimes when people tell us that we've been there for just over a year, I can't believe it. Feels like I've been there for 10. So yeah, as Mike mentioned earlier, our mandate initially was to work on 2 projects. And then later, while we were in the engagement, we also came up with the thing of building an engagement, a design studio, as well as turning Momentum into a design-led organization. I was in charge of leading 9 designers, 5 of which were free thinkers and 4 were perms. And yeah, let me tell you, just starting there was already puts a lot of things in perspective. We started an organization that had nothing. No processes, they were completely development focused. They had a waterfall process model to release features and products, a culture of non-delivery, and yeah, it was, and also, of course, you know, no value in design. So we also had that. We had our work cut out for us. The successes we had, though, over the years, more free thinkers, and we were only there for 6 months. Yeah, joke's on him. We're there for more than a year, and not only have we delivered and currently on more than several projects, we have a design studio of over 24 designers, which is insane. Another thing that happened during this time was we went through 3 CEOs, a chief marketing officer, and 2 organizational restructures. We're still going through the second one right now. So that's why for me, Momentum has been the most unique, because I've been in a lot of clients, and this one was this was a year. I still can't believe it. So yeah, and then we basically we built the capability. We're now moving into our different product teams and that, which is going really well from feedback that I've gotten from the team that are currently there. And then the other thing to to mention is that, in the beginning it was really tough, and now the client sees massive value in us. But because of the poor upper management and lack of vision and leadership, as well as no accountability, it was a proper struggle. But hence, we're still there and still kicking ass. So, yeah.
Okay, so I just want to talk to a couple of themes that came out through that conversation. So the first thing that Michele sort of mentioned that resonated with me is the culture of non-delivery. The second was around the multiple restructures and the 3 CEOs and the lack of decision-making and accountability. I think when you're in the midst of that kind of problem, you probably don't notice how those things are related. And what kind of behavior that drives. So, I mean, if we start just at the top, 3 different CEOs, and what that does to the people that work for them, what that does to decision making, and what impact that has going down into the projects, and how that manifests. To start off with, I'd like Michele to comment on that a little bit, and then I want to hear from you guys. Somebody can run around with the mic. Similar examples that you've had, ways that you've dealt with it, how you've identified it, and what you do to support your stakeholders whilst that stuff is going on. I'll carry on taking notes, probably forget when to stop, and then come back into the conversation at some stage.
So in our experience, what was interesting is that we went through these 3 CEOs, which was absolutely mind-boggling. And by the way, we're still getting resignations from the C-suite. We just had one last week. And it was so interesting because each one of them obviously has a very different view of the business. So the first one that left had a very old view of how momentum was, which is already word of mouth. When you say, do you want to get a medical aid, the first thing that comes to mind is discovery. Why? Because momentum's usually through brokers. So it was very broker-facing. We had another CEO who didn't stay very long. It was literally, I think, 2 or 3 months, and then she left. Now the current one, Hilly Meyer, stayed. And he's actually done something really amazing, which is basically he's turned the whole operation model upside down. So where we were previously is that we had all the product houses, so basically health, life, so forth. And then our team, which is the client's team, was basically the capability on top of that. So everyone had to go through our channel in order to go into the real world. What the CEO currently has done is to completely turn it around. He says, no. The product houses will be basically solving their own problems and doing end-to-end solutions, and you must just help them get there. So, of course, that's a massive change and you can imagine the agendas and politics that happen behind that, because there were some guys that had really clear agendas and it didn't happen. So, of course, there was that bleakness to try and solve. And what that translates to basically going down is like, how do you go from a business that's purely broker-facing to now client-facing, which was our initial mandate. Then halfway through, that kind of changed, and now we're back. So it was literally like up, down within this year. The way we handled the situation was that we empathized with the client, and then we said we know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. So we just kept at it, and we did the best we could with the situation. Luckily, we chose the battles that were supposed to be won, and that's why we're still in a very good space. The client, for instance, told me in a personal capacity that if we didn't engage certain parties at the point we were supposed to do, he wouldn't have a job. So that was also interesting, and that's how we handled that situation.
I think it was, during that disruption, it was a specific point in time where we reflected at the beginning. It was very much like, we don't know anything, so help us create everything and the processes. And they were like, literally, there was one designer, as Michele mentioned. And after the great work that they'd executed on for what feels for about 8 or 9 months, Percy took me aside and said, well, because of the political ups and downs, we actually need you as a partner to pivot the way you're working. So we need something to show for ourselves, basically. And we had to do a specific change in behavior in terms of upskilling their permanence and moving more into advisory roles. So, we're no longer, walking around, geez, free thinking, amazing, all these products going. It's about, okay, well, how do we now, invest in these people. And that's why some of the principles I mentioned earlier really resonate with this example. Investing in a team where, whether they're capable or not, as much as we can to make that a better space and make them look amazing to the organization. So it was a big switch, and I'd also love to hear from some of the team in terms of their experience, if anyone's willing.
Hello? Can you hear me now? Ooh. Woo. Okay, so I think first of all, Makile, well done to you and your Momentum team. I think guys, phenomenal job. My one question is that based on everything that you've just mentioned, how were you able to sort of settle the team that was kind of under your care, as well as guys that you had to sort of lead during this time that weren't free thinkers? How did you go about that when there's such political upheaval in the actual client space?
So thank you. That's actually a very good question. So in my time there, I can't even tell you the amounts of learnings I got, especially from a personal development point of view. So naturally, what I did was I sheltered the team. So I took all the brunt, which some of it did go a little bit to the team, but I took the full brunt of it. So trying to assist the client in that scenario was extremely interesting, because not only was I trying to help him out, but then I also had a team that I had to lead and make sure they were. So then in that regard, I then gave ownership to the team to run with certain aspects of projects and that. And then while I was trying to assist the client in basically making him still relevant with all this restructuring and that, a lot of individuals took it up upon themselves to run with the stuff, and then I was motivating them and assisting and guiding them, which then also led to what Mike just said now, because currently the initial engagement was that I was basically leading the design studio, and then once it got to a certain size, I then negotiated with the client to actually start thinking of restructuring his leadership. So I'm currently assisting 2 of the client's main leaders into how can they work and manage an entire design studio. So I was basically in the limelight, and now I've completely stepped out of it, because now I need them to actually run with it. And also with their current difficulties in that, I'm basically more like supporting them along the line. But again, to answer your question, I took the full brunt of it. In retrospective, I shouldn't have done that. But again, I learned hard.
Let's maybe hear the question. Maybe I can answer the question. It gives me a place to start.
I didn't actually have anything to say.
I guess I can say something. Okay. So just with regards to what Makili said, is this on? Yes. Yes, it's true. There were often times where Makili did look slightly disgruntled, where I did ask him what's wrong, and he would often just say, "No, don't worry about it. It's nothing." Looking back, I think maybe I'm not the only person who would have thought about it that way. That maybe it would have been nice to be in the loop a bit more about what's going on, because it also does cause unnecessary worry from our side. And I mean, it's not your load alone to carry. So, yeah.
I think probably one of the most important lessons that anyone on the Momentum team can learn is to look out for red flags early. What Clara just said is something that we said many months ago in a retro. We said we can see the strain, share with the team, we're there to support you. I'm currently on a project at APSA with Ulrika and the team around me here. It is a project that we knew going in is going to be really, really tough. And the people at the top, they realize that they need the team to perform at the highest levels so that they don't crack, so that all that pressure that they're under doesn't filter through to the people on the team. It's a two-way relationship. We've got to support each other. Otherwise, if one person takes all of that, and there's a lot. I mean, political environment, yes. Toxic is probably a better word sometimes. You can't do it by yourself.
Hi. So I also just want to add on the insecurities and stuff that was happening at Momentum. I think the one thing is when the client wanted to keep stuff secret and not tell everybody, Michele telling us, this is what's happening, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it, does help. I mean, we know stuff is going on, but they kept decisions to themselves and we didn't know what was going on. So that does help the transparency. I mean, even if you can't do anything about it, just knowing it's going on, carry on with your work. That does help a lot.
I think from my side, what really kept me honest was actually very interesting, because I can't tell you how many times I used to get crapped out on for sharing too much. So the client knew for a fact, and still knows still today, which is something we speak about all the time, that if I know something that's going to affect the team, I'm going to let the team know. Which happens more than once, where I've let the team know, and then one of the team members in another meeting a week later said something, and then I got a phone call saying, how the hell does this guy know this? And it's because I'm honest, I'm very transparent. I think where I also was, from my side, what happened was, because we already went through a very bad slip, because at one point we had a whole brand redesign, and we worked literally 8 months into the project, no, for 6-7 months into the project, full CI, ideas, illustrations, and that's going to do basically the final go-ahead that we can do the interface, and in that meeting we find out, sorry guys, MMI is actually doing a whole rebranding. So basically what you did is, thanks. So that moment when I had to share that with the team, I think that really affected me a lot, and that's what actually affected me with a lot of my decisions after that. But now going through it, I should have kept being honest, and not, when I'm saying honest, not lying, but in the sense of if I've got some information that I knew for a fact would hurt the team, I would honestly try and figure it out by myself. And it's just a personality thing, and it's because of these situations I've actually learned that about myself. And yeah, so
Yeah.
Just jump in very quickly, and I see there are a couple of hands. So I just want to pause on this briefly. So there's a conversation going on here around changes that are going on at the client that are being done under wraps, and an individual who keeps on breaking the rules by telling others what's actually going on that impacts them. Now, what is the potential downside of that kind of behavior as a consultant? I mean, the kind of obvious stuff that springs to mind is that the client's going to stop telling him stuff as well because he doesn't want it to get out. You lose your ability to influence. So this is not critique on the approach. It's an approach that worked in that scenario. But I want you guys to think through what alternatives can work in that kind of scenario, and what do you need to do to start influencing and changing the way that the client works so that it's no longer an exception, because that's where the conversation needs to come in.
So I'll say something, and then I'll let everyone to add on that. So
And then we'll come back to the questions.
The reason why I did that is because only now we're seeing the effects of it. So I knew for a fact that could have potentially happened, that the client would have stopped, sharing information with me and that. But every time I did it, I let him know very well that the more you keep away from the team, the worse it's going to get. Because the guys on the floor are the guys that are actually going to do the work and do the great work that you need them to do. So you actually need to be as transparent as you can, because it's a shared responsibility. Funny enough, now we have a 2-week thing now. Every 2 weeks, the client's now getting everyone together, and he's literally updating everyone as to what's happening in the organization. And he shared it with me the other day that because it was so damn stubborn, he's actually doing a couple of things. So that was actually luckily that was a good outcome, because it was very bad.
Hello. So quick comment before I ask Michele a question, and it goes back to Warwick's point on a culture of non-decision or indecision and non-delivery. And I think an example, and maybe something that could help whoever's going to face that next, inevitably, is some good old trickery. I'm not sure how many of you watch or follow House of Cards. I'm not saying go that far. But getting, for example, a creative director wants X, PO is only willing to deliver Y, and your offshore dev guy is saying, look, technically only Z is possible. Just kind of tricking them all around a table, or tricking them into getting around a table all at once, I think does 80% of the work. It's very difficult to hide behind, I didn't see your email, or I had a different vision for it when you're looking the PO across the table. And a question for Michele. So first of all, props to all of you. You guys are a great team. I worked with him for a little bit, and just the work ethic and the vision is really, really inspiring. What I did kind of notice when I got there is that there seemed to be some apprehension from the incumbent designers. What would be, and anybody from the team can answer, what would be some good advice to get some buy-in from UX designers that have been there for, let's say, 2 years, or the CX team who were mostly ignored for 2 years before that, and then all of a sudden design thinking and customer centricity, and free thinking gets all of this great responsibility. How do you keep them okay and get the buy-in?
Yeah, guys, just half a sec here. So technically we're supposed to be breaking around about now. If I can take possibly 2 more comments. So Tracy and Nigel, I see you've had your hand up, and then I want to just, with permission, I don't look at that side of the room. Okay, so we'll take Kesh as well. It's not discrimination, my apologies. So it's actually Andrew's fault because I don't look at him. He's got a camera. So yeah, we take those 3 comments. I want to wrap up just with a little bit of a stakeholder mapping practical tool to use for a lot of the conversation here and link it back, and then we can have a quick break and come back in. But go for it, Trace.
Hi, just well done, Michele. I mean, I know what you've been through in the last year.
It will save a lot of time if we stop hugging each other.
So I just want to say that now you mentioned you're more in the advisory role, and I think it's great to know that, because just from a maturity point of view, UX maturity, CX within design within a company, generally they'll call on your consultants when you really need help, and you are doing the work, and the fact that you're now moving into that more advisory role, I think it's definitely been ingrained more. They're obviously maturing more within the company. So well done.
Thanks, Tracy.
Okay, I think around the whole designer aspect, I just want to add on to say that it's inclusivity, because at the end of the day, they also feel like they are being attacked, or at least their relevance is being attacked as well, with regards to outsiders and consultants. So the inclusivity factor really, really helps. And, you know, listening to your story, I can say that also it's interesting because from our observations and what's happened at Nedbank, whereby a similar thing has happened, maybe not necessarily as high up in the C-suite, but just below in the executive suite. And we were gotten to a point where we had done exceptional work, and we were pushing out the app, and all of a sudden, we find out that there's a massive competitor, international one, and basically, that one. So, what was so interesting is the fact that in our space, we were on a team where we were directly involved, or at least I just moved to that project, and I was leading a team where we were directly involved with the app. And it was a hybrid approach at that stage. And in that weekend, it went live, and it actually got pulled. And basically, we found out that there was a team working on the side, right? And they came to the picture, and almost for a month, no one knew what was going on. No one internally, and we were actually trying to figure out from our side as well. I think from our perspective, maybe we had a lot more people in a sense of at that level from different sections or sides of the business, and we were pulling information like that, you see. And I think that was really fortunate in that specific instance. We also backed the people that we saw would be very pivotal to the future. So for the actual month, that was a transition period of not knowing what's going on. Like I saw our designers, and they were also like struggling. You know, there was frustration, confusion, uncertainty, and it does come down to, you know, just speaking to our team. But it is difficult in a sense that, you know, we have to become a lot more tight-knit when we actually communicate certain things. There's also the fact that we also want to buy the trust of the lower down people in the corporation to make sure that we still have trust with them when we are working with them. So we also actually would update them where applicable, but only very, very briefly and not very detailed. But it is something that we have to work on as a team to say that, okay, if we do communicate, this is something that's between us as consultants. And it's one thing that I did see that, you know, that competitor at that point in time did very, very well. And it's something that we can definitely, you know, further upon. And looking at that situation, we were in a space where the actual executive that was involved, we were backing them and we were supporting them, and it basically came to a point where they were given an opportunity based on politics that happened, and they were given an opportunity, and we had to back them and like showcase that they could deliver, because they were also on the chopping block because of the fact of delivery. So we did that, and basically we're in a situation now where we are very influential, and we are respected. We've grown exponentially as a client, and I think all of these different moments in time were very key. So the situation was slightly different, but it's very relatable. And I think that we need to definitely start actually converging, moving forward to understand all these different aspects and leverage off of that as a team, you know. And the truth is that we won't always be able to share everything at that moment in time, but we will share as much as we can, and we have to trust each other as well. So that's it. Yeah.
Last one. So I think Warwick, you asked the question, you know, what do we as consultants have to do to change the mind of the C-suite, for example, when there's a lack of transparency? I think our roles as the consultants on the project is to be that go-between between the execution level at the bottom and what's happening at the top, because they often don't know. So to be that real voice of reason and the sort of smack in the face to open their eyes and say, listen guys, and using a real example to say, based on all whatever restructuring, how many ever times it happens in a year, at the end of the day, on the floor, I can give you a list already of 20 to 30 people who, through conversation or observation, whatever that may be,
are going to actually resign. So you're losing shit hot skills that people are going to pick up in a heartbeat in a month. And that knock-on effect that it has to productivity and delivery actually does tend to open their eyes a little bit and realize, reverse that, and let's start talking a bit more and being less transparent, not more. So yeah, so I think that's kind of what helps.
That's 100%, because I think the one thing that I did in the clients that every time I did something, I made them understand exactly why I'm doing it each and every time. And by doing that, that's where like we started building a lot of trust. I mean, honestly, the guy actually told me straight, "You're not going to be there for a very long. Like, know that's going to happen." And now we're there for more than a year, and he says that he's going to be extending it for the foreseeable future. And it's all because, and that's one of the fundamental things that I love about Freethinking, that we are constantly the guys that are honestly the guys that have those kind of conversations. I can't tell you how many fighting matches I've had with the clients already, and luckily no one was in the office at the time when we're having these conversations. But it's those conversations where you actually start getting the real understanding of one another, and how can you really assist one another in what it is that they want to do exactly. And I find that that's the space that we play very well.
I don't know, can you?
So I sort of reflected something as well. Thanks for all the questions. Brilliant to get these insights and feedback. Can you hear me?
But can the guys in Cape Town hear?
Hello, Cape Town. This is
Sorry,
for
the
you.
regions.
So I just want to, just reflect from a leadership perspective. Original mandate, go in there, build rapport, one key stakeholder. We think it's great, and then when it starts, I mean, there's been a lot of learnings. This time last year, I mean, we didn't have account management, line management formally set up yet. I was running at ABSA, and I think, in reflection, it's a fine line between, providing a platform of empowerment for a free thinker, like some of the learnings that Michele has shared. But I often ask myself, did we support him enough? So there's that, free thinking provided an opportunity for him, but that fine line between micromanaging and basically hospital passing, and that empowerment in the middle, the big learnings for us as a business, when we reflected and said, in a lot of cases we weren't around at the time, we didn't have the right support structures, the right, and I can see it in the fact that in preparation for this, we spent quite a bit of time the last couple of months, 2 months, I'd say, Michele and I, not just this, but geez, okay, I'm going around in circles. But what we've uncovered is every time we speak about, what's happening in the business now and the new roles and what's going on with support, he's like, oh my gosh, I wish I had this time last year. I wish I had this 6 months ago. And just hearing that makes us, it's a big learning from the business itself as well in terms of what have we done to support Michele in this specific role.
So Mike, to answer your question, no, you can't say something quickly, clearly. And never give me the microphone after you embarrass me at the beginning. That's just the start. So I just want to, firstly just say thank you very much to Michele, and I'm talking shit now. So just to wrap up some of that session, and then we'll have a quick break. But there is a lot of this actually came out from what Nigel was saying as well. So thanks for that, Nigel. It's finally found somebody who's actually less politically correct than me. He was talking about the lower down people in the organization. And in chatting about the lower down people, I don't think he was referring to a vertical challenge. I think it was more around, control. But if you look at the stakeholder matrix up behind me here, you start looking at stakeholder interest, stakeholder influence. The lower down people have less influence and often a lot more interest. And he spoke through the methods about how to keep them informed. And these are simple tools that you can use on an everyday type basis. So by keeping them informed, you actually cut down a lot of the noise, you keep the worker bees working, you keep them happy. It's kind of the mushroom syndrome. Keep them in the dark, feed them shit. Then, you've got you guys who have that even less interest. You just keep them in the dark. You don't have to feed them shit anymore. And then as the guys get more influence and interest, you've got to manage them a lot more carefully. So this is the kind of thing that, as you're going through, it works on the people level as well. So, when you're talking about what you disclose to the staff that you work with, to all of the others, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same principle that you use with the clients. And a lot of it is around, how do you actually identify the communication, build the trust, and keep them appropriately informed. So it's the kind of thing that you You can map the people that you work with, map the stakeholders, keep it close. It is the type of thing that I run in a spreadsheet somewhere, and it's just a reminder and a constant reminder to make this avert. It's a lot of the stuff we do subtly, and just bring it foremost in mind. So I think at that point we're going to have a quick 10-minute break. If I can have you guys back by 20 to 4. We'll then carry on with the conversation. Things like conflict management came up quite strongly. There are a couple of others that we'll bring into the discussion.